Greetings, assalamu alaikum. I am brother Sultan AlkhaliqShabazz, along with my co-host, brother Troy Tawfeek Muhammad, joining us by way of Phoenix, Arizona. We are extremely excited to have you join us tonight. You are in for a treat. We have joining us from the great state of Houston, the People's Chef, the Nation's Chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel Muhammad, he's an accomplished chef with over 19 years experience of private labeling specialist in food science, food manufacturing and processing. He is also a how to eat to live instructor, serving the great people of Houston, Texas. Please put your hands together and welcome Chef Eriel Muhammad.
Greetings. Thank you for inviting me into your homes, and I want to welcome you into our kitchen, welcome you into our lifestyle, welcome you into the world of culinary arts. It's been an extreme pleasure going through the ups and downs trying to pull this broadcast together. I want to thank Brother Sultan and thank Brother Troy for allowing me the opportunity to come on these sacred airwaves. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, Chef Eriel Muhammad, we have a lot of questions to get to tonight. We want to talk to you on several topics because there's a buzz going around that you have a new show that's coming out called Hot on Fresh. We'll talk about that. We also want to talk about this latest development of these biodegradable container pie shells. So we'll get to that, but we want to get to some of the questions that was submitted to us by way of social media. Our first question comes by way of Facebook. Chef Eriel, can you tell us how long have you been a chef?
Wow, having gone through extensive training and then intensive training, having traveled to 2 countries, and having trained with different chefs that don't even speak English, but you're actually learning the technique. And right at about 18, 19 years, even now, I don't feel like I've learned everything I need to learn. It's a constant challenge. It's constant questions. You get in a position where you're learning different milestones of different aspects of the culinary world. So it's ever changing, and I want to be ahead of those changes, and especially be a part of them.
I see. And can you tell us what attracted you to the field of culinary?
Well, the attraction, it comes from having the same habit that everyone else have, and that is the habit of wanting to eat. But it's a difference, when you just have the habit of wanting to eat and then having the desire to have good food. So, being the last of 12 children, you have an opportunity to get the fresh food or to get the last dibs of what comes to the table. And I got on the end where you prepare and you cook the food, where you always have first dibs on all the food. So that came from being able to serve my family, my brothers and sisters, and learning the different techniques from my mother.
I see. And I read somewhere where you said that your mother was your biggest critic.
Yes, she was one of the biggest critics. It wasn't so overbearing to where that egg is not right or that rice is not right or it's not. No, just she helped to nurture being able to follow the senses, knowing how it smells when it's ready, knowing how it looks, the different textures, the different colors, the different temperatures. It's it's one thing to have someone to critique what you do, but then it's another to have an aspect of criticizing. But you have to have a base and a consummate knowledge of what you're criticizing, even if it's in the way of wanting to know. You still have to have a humble spirit. But yeah, she was or she is the biggest critic that I had. Yes, sir.
I see. I see. So let me ask you a question. Was your mother was she a chef? Those of you who are joining us for your first time, you are.
The term chef comes from. The term chef comes from, it's rooted in the term chief, being in charge. Definitely she was that. It basically showed how to take charge of when you're in the position of cooking for others, serving others, and making sure that every aspect of that meal is prepared properly, making sure all the service, making sure all the portions is properly portioned for that meal. So if you want to say she was a chef, yeah, you could say that. You can definitely say she was a chef. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And those who are just tuning in, Chef Eriel, we just want to welcome them to Muhammad on the Move. You are listening live with Sultan Ray AlkhaliqShabazz, as well as Troy Tawfeek Muhammad. We are broadcasting live with the nation chef, the people chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad, who is also joining us by way of Houston, Texas. We want to welcome you and let you know this is our very first broadcast on live stream. Some of you may notice that we do have a little lag in between, but we will continue to try to strive to perfect this, and we ask that you continue to be patient with us in the process. Once again, we are joined live with Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel, next question also comes from Facebook. What is your favorite meal to prepare?
Wow. I do get that question a lot. What is my favorite meal? My favorite meal is eggs and rice. And so, and sometimes just French fries and ketchup. However, it's once you get into the food world, there's so many choices and so many avenues. You tend to change with the season.
I see. Okay. And what has been your most challenging dish to prepare?
The most challenging dish, one of my greatest mentors told me, once you're able to master soup, once you're able to master salads, everything else is a win-win, even though you're only as good as your last meal. But if the soup is good and the soup is hot and the salad is good and cold and the lettuce is crispy, we tend to kind of freak out over the meal. But once you have a good starter, you have a good salad, you have a good soup, yes, everything else will flow. So it's not a difficult, there is pretty much no difficult meals. It's just, being able to mix and match and combine your foods.
I see. And I'm trying to read this question. What advice, okay, this question comes by way also of social media. What advice would you give to someone interested in pursuing a career in culinary arts?
Well, having talked to students all the time, being accomplished, you look for certain passions in the students. And you may see them going a certain route, whether it's in desserts, whether it's in a type of dessert, whether it's in breads. It could be Italian, it could be Asian, or whatever. But when you're dealing with an everyday person, or you're dealing with someone that's aspiring, you always try to connect them with people that's trying to give back to the community. And I would say connect with, a mentor or chef that's doing a mentorship program. With the rising cost of education and the rising cost of different vocational schools, sometimes, if not all the time, we can't afford to go to a culinary arts school or someone that's offering that program. And I always suggest that they get with a chef that's offering that mentorship program, or just, on those little part-time jobs at those restaurants. You tend to pick up little tips and little ideas and different methods and stuff like that.
I see. And Chef Eriel, this is another question dealing with the dignitaries, because we have did some research and we saw as well that you cooked for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Can you tell us about that? What meals did you prepare? How was that experience?
Wow. You did your research. I will say it was high strung. It wasn't high stressed. His overall feeling was to just be comfortable. We were preparing food for dignitaries from around the world. He was hosting some dignitaries there in Chicago, and his concern was, how y'all feel. He wanted everybody to be comfortable. He wanted to make sure that the food will reflect. Wanted to make sure that the service reflects just that, a high level of comfort and a very, very low level of stress. Having had my tour at the Salam restaurant, you tend to fall into a very level of comfort, knowing that hey, he's going to come through the kitchen, or he's going to ask those questions, and as as you're doing that, or as I was growing to do that, I grew a very high level of comfort. Being able to prepare those dishes and those meals that he liked, or those meals and dishes that his guests like. It wasn't too difficult at first. Like I said, you kind of get goosebumps at first, but then if it's your art and if it's your craft, then you tend to fall into a very, very comfortable level of preparing and doing what you're asked to do. So yeah, you done some research on that one, and it wasn't a difficult meal at all. A very very, very nice 6-course meal.
I see. Okay. And Chef Eriel, I know as well that you have received a couple questions from the audience as well. Do you want to go ahead and dive into those questions? Okay.
Yes.
You have the floor.
One of the questions that came from the floor here. Which was it the? Wow. Okay. She read the question, and it says, "What is the proper way? The proper way to make lasagna." There are many different ways to make lasagna. There are many ways to make it. A lot of people use different types of pasta, lasagna, pasta lasagna shells, and there are different ways you can do it. If it's a fresh pasta, then of course you're on a time constraint, because you're making fresh pasta. You want to go right into the pan with it, along with the sauce, whether you're doing a meat sauce, whether you're doing veggies, or and if it's a veggie lasagna, of course, or chicken lasagna, whatever, then you want to look at adjusting the different temperatures of the oven, of wherever you're cooking it. And a part of that question I heard earlier was, how do you adjust the ovens? How does that work? Well, and if you look at on most packaged food in America now, they'll tell you adjust the oven to the sea level in which you live, because it just has every oven, of course, it looks the same, but it all bakes different, and just predicated on how thick it is, predicated on what's already cooked in the lasagna, predicated on the type of cheese. That's why they'll serve you some stuff that comes right out of an aluminum pan where you just pop it right into the oven. However, we're dealing with some fresh products, so it's going to be adjusted to the oven or to the likeness of what if you want to be cooked at a longer temperature. So it's going to be up to you. You're going to have to monitor that one.
I see.
Okay, we got one more question from the floor.
Yes, sir.
When given positive criticism, what is the best way to be receptive and apply that in your daily life?
One more time. One more time.
When given positive criticism, what is the best way to be receptive and apply that in your daily life?
When given positive criticism, how do you apply that in your daily?
Everyone is not, so
right.
Everyone can handle
Right.
criticism.
Yes, I understand that. That's a very good question, because she wanted to know how do you accept positive criticism, and apply it, and how do you be receptive to positive criticism? Yes. Let me say it like this here, because I heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say, we've been beat down so much, it's hard to know, or it's hard for us to even grasp what good criticism sounds like, because we've heard so much negative. When you hear the positive, he likened it to, he said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, when you hear truth or when you hear positivity, it's like grain in wood. It all goes the same way. And when it's negative, it's almost like you cut across the grain, a good piece of wood. So now you're beginning to ruin it. So when you hear negative criticisms all the time, and then all of a sudden you hear something positive, immediately you're going to take it for something bad. Now I wonder why he said that. I wonder why she said that. I wonder what she's up to, or what is he doing. I would say, as a culinarian, as an artist in the world of food, sometimes no criticism, no words is better than all the words in the world. The only thing you have to do is look at the clean plate, and then that's going to tell you everything. So that means the next time that you apply, you use the same application on the next meal, if the plate is full, you'll know not to do that anymore. So, yeah.
I see. So,
we got one more question from the floor.
Yes, sir.
This question is, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
We want to just welcome those who are tuning in with us for the first time.
You go ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. We'd like to just welcome those who are tuning in with us for the first time. You are live with the nation's chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. You are live on Muhammad on the Move. Muhammad on the Move is dedicated to business, arts, activism, entrepreneurship in the Muslim communities here in America and throughout the Muslim world. And once again, we are extremely excited to have with us the nation's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel Muhammad, I know you have another question. We want to ask you one question really quick. How important at this time that we introduce, in your opinion, a new food paradigm?
Wow. It's timely. Not now, right now. To introduce a new food paradigm is right now. Talking with some colleagues the other day, when you and I was actually listening because these colleagues of mine, they hold a high place in dealing with food in this city, in Houston. If we don't, we meaning the black community, don't take control of our own food supply, of our own food preparation, buying and selling food from one another. Because if you know, some of the people in the audience here, they grow tomatoes, then I'm going to buy tomatoes from them. If, you know, someone here is growing lettuce, then I'm going to buy lettuce from them. And to change that food paradigm, it's going to have to start with a grassroots movement, in which we've already started to do, to counter the food desert, because they've established certain areas in the city of Houston as a food desert, which basically means that there are no food stores in the blighted areas of the city, which basically means, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I will talk about the politics of it, because the food desert only means that these areas are where they can pull finances or pull money from these parts of town, which is the poor parts of town. So now these grocery stores and these restaurants are going to start selling. Of course, you know, you got the ramen noodles, you got all this trash that they sell. So now these colleagues of mine are coming up with different ways to prepare these ramen noodles, or going into these new grocery stores that's coming in the hood and showing, you know, the people in these communities how to prepare this food. Well, it's the same trick, just warmed over, sometimes on a different plate. And that different plate may not be a Korean plate. It may not be an Arab plate. It may be the plate of a Chinese person. So I say the food paradigm has to start from the grassroots, not just those that commune together at one building on a Sunday, or commune together on a Tuesday, or commune together out in the park. It has to start right at the grassroots. That's a very good question, because, again, if we don't take control of our own food supply, if we do not, definitely we'll find ourselves consuming the same poison, and it kind of dovetails into the question that came from the floor. But thank you, brother. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Brother Eriel, do you have another question from the floor there?
Yes. That question. The question is, what's the difference? What's the difference between cooking with fresh foods and non-fresh foods? And how does it affect our body and digestive system? If I may say, you know, in my How to Eat to Live class at Muhammad University of Islam, one of the questions is, why can I receive the benefits from good food? Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad answered it like this: you can't receive the benefits of good food unless you have good thoughts. And having good food and having good thoughts, they both go hand in hand. And it also, in that question, he's talking about how does this affect the body and the digestive system. Well, the majority of the food now that's being sold on the market, it's not good food, and it definitely affects the digestive system of every person that consumes it if you're not preparing. And I notice I said preparing, not cooking, but preparing your own foods for yourself and your family. And you have some foods that's high in sodium. They're talking about different, you know, it's low in sodium, and now you have the whole halal craze, and you have the kosher craze, and I'm calling it craze because it's the same slave master that's offering the same food. It's just in a different package with a different stamp on it that's written in a different language. So now I've taken it upon myself, teaching it through my How to Eat to Live class at Muhammad University, that there's no such thing as halal anymore unless we control our own food production, food processing, and food management and manufacturing. So it does affect your body, and it does affect your digestive system. That's just on a microcosm. The macrocosm, we'll be talking about the whole community. So that's a very good question as well. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I see. Okay, and once again, you're listening to Muhammad on the Move, live with the nation chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad, joining us by way of Houston, Texas. Chef Eriel, now we do want to move to this phase and talk about your new development, the biodegradable pie containers. Can you tell us what that was all about?
You didn't ask me that.
Yes, sir.
I see you grinning. You couldn't wait to get to it, but go ahead.
Oh, no, sir. I mean, we're just super excited to learn about these new pie containers.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Can you tell us what they're about? I mean, how did you come up with the idea? What is this all about?
Wow. Early on, I said about being ahead of the curve, and that's exactly what that does. It thrusts all of us that's in the process of working on changing a food paradigm or creating a new food paradigm. I heard Louis Farrakhan say that just before I left Chicago some years ago, and he spoke about how the dietary law should have been made like the restrictive law. And for those that may not know the restrictive law, it's a set of laws that's given to us that governs our everyday lives, and it also puts us at a higher success rate as we follow those laws. And he said he wished he had made the dietary law as the restrictive law. And he said he really wanted to focus from now on. He wanted to focus on creating avenues by which we can get good food and have good food for our families and our communities. And as you see now, we're just beginning to get into purchasing land. You see a lot of the believers are having their own personal farms, having the community farms. You see the community farms popping up in some of the black communities in America. So it was incumbent upon being able to work on a product. The research and development on this product took at least 3 years. And I noticed, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad built the whole nation on pies and paper. And that thought being sparked from a brother, he said, nobody should buy a bean pie if it's in an aluminum pan. Mm. Well, I took offense to it. It was a very healthy and hearty critique, but at the same time, I'm a businessman, so I'm like, wow, I can't bake without an aluminum container. But lo and behold, a little bit of research and development, and a lot of time, and a lot of effort, and a lot of mistakes, and a lot of ups and downs, and more downs and ups. Now we feel the tide of going up now. So it's been a very rough ride. After difficulty comes ease, and we do see ourselves being thrusted in front of the curve of providing and offering a more healthier way and giving a more healthier choice of baking and food preparation.
So pretty much what you're saying is that's what sparked the thought for you to develop the biodegradable pie containers?
Well, it was a mixture. It was a mixture of sparking, because the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said when you feel, it's almost like it has to be something that's causing you to move, that's causing some type of activity when you see a bunch of black people moving. So that it was a mixture of sparks that caused the movement, that caused a very healthy movement in myself, instead of being to my community.
I see. And Chef Eriel, can you tell us what is the benefit of these new biodegradable pie containers? What's the benefit? What are they made of? For those who are joining us for the first time, you are live with Muhammad on the Move, TV1. I am your host, Sultan Ray AlkhaliqShabazz. Also joined with my other host, Troy Tawfeek Muhammad. Joining us by way of Phoenix, Arizona, you are live with the nation's top chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel, we actually lost you for a little bit, and the question was, what are the new biodegradable pie containers made of? What are they made of?
Well, well, for one, let me go here because I contacted some colleagues that I had that on the West Coast. Okay. Some guys that worked with some products that they used for one of the space shuttle missions, and their activity is very high when it comes to research and development. So I wanted to increase the quality of our product by not disturbing the character. So we talked about it. We kicked it around for about a year, and so what I wanted to do was bake this pie at the same temperature, have this pie to have a more cleaner taste, bake evenly at the same time, and keep it at a very low cost. What we brought back, well, what was brought back was some prototypes, and this prototype looked just like a pie container, and it does everything that I just said. It's a starch-based product. It releases just like any other pie container. It does not stick. It holds heat well, and one of the major features of this container is you can take it out of the oven while it's hot.
Wow.
In the beginning, in some of the research and development, we've had, we had some containers to just catch fire in the oven. We've had some containers that just melt. We've had some containers that just would not cook the pie at all. So you're talking at least a year, almost 2 years of research and development. And I had Chris to go and get some of the containers. We're going to show the containers here on live. We didn't bring any. There are no bean pies available today. Okay. And not just a bean pie. You can bake any kind of pie in this container. We've had some sisters to cook quiche in it. We've had them to cook apple pies. And I told them to try any product that they had. Take it for a test run. Let's see what it does. And the whole city is abuzz with this particular container. And as Chris brings this container, as you can see, we have a stack of them here in the back. But this is the container here. I'll show them both of them.
Oh,
and in this container, it's preformed. It's preformed, close to a deep dish pan, and I know I've had some brothers that say it looks like a UFO, but it's not a UFO. It's totally identified. We know exactly what it is.
Yes, sir.
And the success rate that we've had with this container has been enormous, and everybody that has had the opportunity to research and to do some research and help us develop this product, we want to thank them. We've had some that stuck with us to the end. We had some to throw their hands up and say, "Chef, this is not going to work." Well, I know it's going to work because the Louis Farrakhan sparked that thought, and some of my brothers helped to spark that thought as well. Because if we are to lead the nation in development, but within that same sentence, he said, look, Houston is going to show the nation the way. But he also said, but you're non-productive. Now, in the world of culinary, I said, you know, I took it personal, like, no, I need to get busy. So this will be our little small footprint in thrusting us into the curve of one, sustainable food preparation, sustainable living, and having products that are compostable. And I didn't say that this container is compostable within 35 to 40 days. So I think we're on our way, and all those that are connected and are involved are definitely on the way with us.
I see.
Thank you for asking that one. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And my next question, Chef Eriel, I'm just curious, what size does the pie shells come in? Do they vary in size, or is it just one size?
Well, right now we have one size, which is the 9-inch.
Okay.
9-inch, as Chris showed you. We have a 6-inch container that's being manufactured. We're in research and development with that. We also have the muffin containers. We have other containers that bakers can use. We're looking at doing some larger baking containers where one of our guests asked about lasagna. We've already started research and development on being able to bake lasagna, bake chicken, and do other things in this container that's made of these materials. It's been a long process. You know, I've even had some people to say, hey, you should take that to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He needs to see this. Well, we first want to take it to the people, because he said anything of any good, take it to the people first, because it's the people who deserve to have good products, and that is exactly what we're doing. And I have a couple more questions that's coming from the floor as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For the container? Sure. Very good. So go ahead. What's your next question? Because they're piling up over here, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. The next question we have is, we see that you also have a book that you're working on. Did you want to kind of elaborate just a little bit about, we heard through the grapevine, it's called Soul Bread. And could you tell us, just give us a little snippet about this new book that's coming out?
Yeah.
Yes, Chef Eriel, we've definitely done our research on you. Yes, sir.
You got some detectives. Yeah, the name of the book is called Soul Bread. Mm-hmm. And it addresses the journey, the beginning journey, and it also addresses being able to, like one of the questions was, accept the critique and being able to properly apply it. And that's funny you asked that, because the spark for that came while I was waiting on the bus when I was living up in Portland, Oregon, and I went into the grocery store and I heard some black people talking about, there are no cookbooks for black people. I don't think cookbooks are just for black people, or they're just for other people of other races. If it's written in English, if it's written in English, then it's for everybody. If it's written in Chinese, then it's for those that understand Chinese. But yeah, that book, Soul Bread, we're looking to finish. We still have some more photo shoots to do with that. We're still trying to get some recipes that's going to be trying to get some recipes certified in that book. We've already started on Soul Bread, the dessert cookbook, and we've already finished Soul Bread, the salad cookbook. So we're on our way. We're on our way.
All right. Once again, you are live with Muhammad on the Move TV1. We have an exclusive interview with the nation's chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel Muhammad has been just answering a lot of questions coming in by way of social media. And we are once again so excited that he took out the time to answer some of our questions.
Yes.
We're going to take quick intermission, Chef Eriel, and we're going to come right back with you. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Is it time to eat yet?
And those who are joining us as well, we want to just say Ramadan Mubarak to all of the Muslims who are engaging in Ramadan. And yes, so we want to definitely say that as well. So we're going to take a quick break and be right back with the nation's chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad.
Thank you. The
Ooh, that Peebo version.
I mean, I don't know if they can hear it or not. You hadn't seen that? The majority of all the stuff that they put on Facebook, pictures.
You know, it's for a lot of people, it's astonishing. We see good dishes and dressed up.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we are back
Yes.
once again with the nation chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad, who is joining us by way of Houston, Texas. He is also coming live with us, and we are discussing a lot of hot topics that have come in by way of social media. He is also an upcoming cooking show, Hot on Fresh. So Chef Eriel, we wanted to talk as well about this new cooking show. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about what we can look forward to with Hot on Fresh?
Two words: hot and fresh.
Hot and fresh.
If you look at a lot of the cooking shows that's on TV now, it's the same soup warmed over. You know, you see a lot of the cooking shows where the chefs start hollering and cursing in the kitchen, or you'll see the same cupcake with a different color icing on it, or you'll see the same hamburger with a different kind of cheese on it. Well, when we talked about in the earlier segment about changing the food paradigm. Now, we're looking at going into preparing foods now instead of cooking foods. Well, yeah, I know you're saying, well, how am I going to eat it if it's just prepared? Well, now we're looking at eating to live, not just living to eat. So that hot on fresh, we're going to be visiting a lot of community gardens. We've already taped 3 segments of a show where we went into a coffee shop where a sister is actually preparing fresh foods that she's purchased from some of the local growers.
Okay.
And things like that needs to be highlighted. Okay. We've gotten invitations from viewers in Detroit. They want us to come there and do some segments of a show. We've already done a segment in Austin. We're going to go down to hopefully go down to New Orleans, my hometown, and visit some of the restaurants there. And Hot on Fresh will not just be from one little kitchen. We'll be looking to highlight those that are doing things that's hot and fresh in the communities in which they live. We're not looking to come in and have a food challenge, see who can eat the most or see who can eat the largest hot dog or the largest hamburger. No, we're not looking to put people back on the same track. We're looking to, change what they're doing, not just take it away, but give them another thought and another idea on changing their lifestyle and the way in which they eat. I've been blessed in many ways, and this is where I want to give back, and I want to offer that to us. It's nothing like helping those that live in your house, and I don't mind going out to help, but I want to help those that's in our house as well, that's in our communities, and that's where Hot on Fresh came from. Getting that platform, getting those sacred airwaves, and being able to transfer it and offer it to us. So, and offer it to the community as a whole. So, no, it won't be no hot dog challenges on Hot on Fresh. It won't be just fried chicken and grits on Hot on Fresh. This is going to be something hot and something fresh.
Okay, and Chef Eriel, we had a quick question came in pertaining to the biodegradable pie containers. Sure. Where if someone was interested in purchasing the pie containers, where would they go to get the pie containers?
Well, we have the website that's being built for that because we've gotten an overwhelming response. Okay. And we're scrambling trying to get this website built where they can go in and purchase these these containers. We've been dealing with some of the cities. Or with some of the cities in which they're baking their own bean pies or they're baking their own desserts. We have groups of sisters that's in the MGT that's been asking for these containers, whether they can bake their quiche and bake their products that they sell on a Sunday or sell to the believers for their families in those cities. We've been contacted through arielsfreshbake.com, and we've been able to handle some of those orders through the arielsfreshbake.com site. If they want, they can email, they can inbox us at The Nation's Chef, or they can inbox us at Eriel's Fresh Bake on Facebook. And we've been kind of filtering and handling those orders through there. But just give us an opportunity. We're building that site right now because we still have some research and development that's being done with the other containers as well. We've had an overwhelming response from the West Coast. We've had an overwhelming response from different cities, especially, Alabama and Florida. It's like, man, we got to have this container. We want to offer a new way of baking. We want to, offer a cleaner and a fresher way of baking products, especially if it's a bean pie. So we want that container. That container is very appealing, and it also, like I said, it bakes clean. So yeah, they can inbox us at Eriel's Fresh Bake on Facebook, or they can hit The Nation's Chef and just send it to us. We'll get it to you. It's no problem. Wherever you are, it's no problem.
All right. Well, you all have heard it from The Nation's Chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad, pertaining to the biodegradable pie containers. Chef Eriel, we had a quick question that just came in pertaining to, they say, why use the biodegradable? I know that you kind of dealt with that earlier, but could you kind of briefly kind of tell them what is the benefit?
Sure. You know, that if you look at, and I've even been challenged in such a way where the Elijah Muhammad used aluminum, you know, in the first and back in the day. You know, they use aluminum containers in Chicago, or they use aluminum containers in LA. Well, that's fine, but we have to begin offering the people not just that container. We have to offer them a more healthier choice. You know, we've had some of our great ones in the nation to fall ill to aluminum poisoning. And if you look at the different toxins that's in aluminum, there's no question, there's no doubt about it, why you should use that container. If that was the case, then it'll be okay for us to drink out of an aluminum can, even though it's coated with different plastics that's on the inside, where you don't get poisoned by aluminum right away. It's just over a period of time. But if we know the facts, let's act on the facts. And the container is recyclable. You can add it to your compost. And like I said earlier, it breaks down in 35 to 40 days. It's a starch-based material. And I've even had one of the questions from the floor was, is it an organic starch? Yes, very. And to use it, it makes your product supreme. To not use it, well, you know the answer to that one.
Mm-hmm. I see. So, Chef Eriel, can you tell us what are some of your future plans? We know that you have the upcoming Hot and Fresh cooking show. We know that you're working on the biodegradable pie containers, trying to get them in various cities and in the hands of the people. What other future plans can we expect down the line from the nation chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad?
Well, we've already we're trying to finish up plans for the first annual Nations Bakers Conference, where we were looking at bringing bringing all bakers in the nation to one area, and we've even looked at trying to add those chefs into that as well. But we really wanted to start with the bakers, because you're talking a GNP or GDP, which is a gross domestic product. You know, when you hear the term Muslim, the first thing people think about is bean pies and bow ties. But that has become a staple in the black community. It's a what you would call a gross national product, which basically means it creates revenue. You know, there was a book written by a brother where he said that they were selling at least 10 to 15,000 bean pies a day in New York. Now, if you look at the size of New York, you know, selling 10 to 15,000 bean pies in Houston, that's not a milestone. That's something great. So that means that money or that revenue from that, not only does it give jobs, but it builds communities. Now that money can be circulated evenly. It's power, and it's power that's not wanted. So I said, being a chef and being a baker, I said I was going to pull them in, and let's begin to create that paradigm from the baking side. You know, you're talking baking breads, you're talking baking cakes, you're talking about going to your prospective cities and being able to not just trap that money, but trap the minds of the people on something that's good and getting in front of the curve. So that's one other thing that we're working on, is the first annual Bakers Conference of all those that are in the nation. I mean, and we may expand it out, you know, to outside of that, but it's nothing like talking to your family in the house, and more so taking that, putting it on the panel, putting that on, you know, putting that on the agenda for one of our Savior's Day conventions. Which you would say, you know, we need to conference on that. We need to talk about that. sustainability, sustainable living, sustainable food growing, sustainable communities. You can't have a sustainable community, you don't have sustainable living and sustainable food. So that needs to be put on the agenda. So we'll make the proper petition. We'll make the proper we'll take the proper route to doing that. Hopefully it'll be accepted this year so we can pull all the chefs in together, and then we can start building from there, because creating that paradigm, it starts with us. We can have a lot of food, but if there's no one to prepare it, no one to come up with those recipes that are healthy. Yeah, a lot of people will say, hey, we have How to Eat to Live, but we need to extend that and create those extensions to where we have those recipes to where we can take it out to the community. So that's one of the, I know it sounds major, but it's just a very, very small footprint. That's, it's needed, it's necessary. It's not for now, it's for right now. So
yes, sir.
Thank
yes,
you, brother.
Sir.
That's a good question.
Yes, sir.
Once
again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have just let me know. I have a question that just came in from the floor. Whenever whenever we do it, that's fine.
We can go ahead. We can go ahead and take that question.
That question, the question that was asked was the proper, very good, the proper kitchen etiquette. We're talking adults or children? No, I'm just kidding.
For beginners.
For beginners.
And people who are already, they already may know a little bit, or have been inside of the cooking field.
Sure.
But they're not sure exactly what they're supposed to.
Sure. That's a good question. She's talking about having the proper kitchen etiquette, not just from those that are beginners, but from those that's been in the kitchen for a while, and those that pretty much that's very interested. Did you say very or just interested? Very interested in learning the proper kitchen etiquette. And she's right. Everyone does not know the proper kitchen etiquette. You ever heard the term too many chefs in the kitchen spoils the soup? Well, regardless, I can bring a lot of my colleagues in here. We may have over 1,000 years of knowledge. I have my way of preparing, tomato basil soup. My brother and Chef Chris, he may have his way of doing, whether it's fish cakes or crab cakes or whatever, he may have his way, and you may have a standardized recipe. Well, there's a recipe for, standardized etiquette. You should always, wash your hands when you go in the kitchen. You should always keep a low tone of voice. When I'm, doing food demos, or when I have some students that's over and we're going through certain things in the kitchen, I always tell them, hey, go to your prospective corners or go get some quiet time and make a prayer to yourself, because I need you to pray for me, that I transfer the proper information and I give you the proper knowledge and I give you the proper methods. More so, you need to be in the proper position to receive it. And that etiquette, that's one of the etiquettes that I've built, and I've built it into some of my students as well, because you have to, not just come in and wash your hands and then start cooking. I always say, hey, turn the music down, because I need you to listen to the food. I need you to listen to the stove. I need you to listen to that pot that's going on. I need you to feel it. And that was one of the things that one of my instructors, the great Eddie Van Dam, he said, look, Eriel, I need you to feel your food. I'm like, okay. But that etiquette, what he instilled in me, it translated into some of my students. You have to come in and wash your hands. You have to get your perspective part of the kitchen and be quiet and make a prayer to yourself, however you do it, so that you can receive and give at the same time. So that's one of the major etiquettes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what was the fuel and ammo to ignite your drive to keep pulling your career?
What was the fuel and ammo?
To ignite your drive.
What was the fuel and ammo to ignite my drive? To keep, very good. What is the fuel and ammo that's used to that made me want to get up every day to keep pursuing in the world of the culinary arts? And I said earlier, one of my major fuels was I got the same habit. I like to eat. But some of the major fuel is to serve. You know, one of my instructors said years ago. One of my mentors said, he said, you'll know you're consumed by this because you'll keep coming back. And he always used to say, you're only as good as your last meal. I've had a few bad meals, but the undergirding of that was the desire to serve. Coming from a large family, somebody had to cook. And if I didn't like the way one of my sisters cooked, then I would try to take somebody else's place. I want to cook the meal tonight. Or if my mother said, okay, look, I'm going to reschedule you. You're going to cook this, and I'm going to move her there. Well, if she's cooking something that I liked, then I'm going to ask for both nights. So it was having the desire to want to serve. It was having the desire to want to see people happy and see people like what I was cooking. So that was definitely the fuel and definitely the ammo that had me coming back for more, because I didn't want my last meal to be a bad one. I always wanted it to be good. Mm-hmm. One more question. Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give a young, inspired cook trying to make it?
What advice would I give to an aspiring cook trying to make it in the culinary world? The world of culinary is so vast. It's like, and I always tell that to students as well, being a cook and, hey, I'm getting ready to be this hot dog chef and I'm going to be there. And I'll say, hey, jump into the ocean. Let's see if anybody knows you're out there. Or I remember visiting a school in Florida, and one of the young students there, she said, and it was 2 black students there out of 90 white children. And she walked up to me in front of the other instructors and the other administrators, and she said, I need you to remember my name. You're going to remember my name. And I laughed, and I asked, I said, well, how long have you been doing this? She said, well, this is my 2nd semester. I said, okay, great. And I walked away, we kind of moved away from her, but I so wanted to get back to her. And when I did, I say, well, dear sister, it's good that you want me to remember your name, but it's better that you remember your own name, because that is, once you remember your own name, then you'll know that your own name is more valuable than anything that you've ever cooked. And then that means that your name will go forth before you even get there. I mean, they had this party and they had all this stuff before I got there, and you could have swore I cooked for Barack. But come to find out, they done their research. They found out I cooked for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So they wanted to see exactly what this man Eriel looks like. I mean, I say I'm your everyday brother, but my name went forth first. And it's and I would say to any cook, make sure that your name is on everything that you cook. Like I tell tell Chris, take a picture of everything that you do. And it's not for the people to see. It's for you to remember. It's for you to internalize, because you never know when you have to go back and maybe change some things up. And it's not going to be the same sandwich from Dairy Queen. Or I didn't mean to call nobody's name, but it's not the same. I like Dairy Queen, so don't start. It's I like the ice cream cone, but it's more important that you know who you are before you want everybody to know your name, because they'll be like, oh, he cooked that, I know him, I don't like that. No. So it's better that you know who you are before you want me, little old Eriel, to know who you are.
Yes,
so, but yeah, that's a very good question.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Well, once again, those who just joining us, you are live with the nation chef, the people's chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad, joining us by way of Houston, Texas. I am your host, Sultan AlkhaliqShabazz, along with my co-host, Troy Tawfeek Muhammad, joining us by way of Phoenix, Arizona. We're live with the nation chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad. Chef Eriel, we will take one more question, and that will end our broadcast. We would like those who are joining us for the first time or will be joining us in the future. You can catch us live right here inside Facebook on your mobile device, as well as YouTube Live and Google+. Joining us will be Chef Eriel Muhammad, who will be introducing his new show, Hot on Fresh, the cooking show. So please stay tuned for that as well. Chef Eriel, do you have another question on the floor you'd like to take, sir?
Yeah, and I'm always asked the question as far as what is my view on the food security for the nation. You know, I always like to, it presents a little trepidation when I answer that, or hear that particular question. How do I feel, or what is my view on food security for the nation? Not going before, my teacher. I would definitely have to say, do your best at protecting the food that you grow for your family. We're taught that, there were 3 sciences that we were not taught. And one of them was the science of business, and then the other was the science of warfare. And when you're dealing with food, or when you're dealing with food, and when you're dealing with growing a community, that's warfare. And you need to have security that's going to protect those gardens, or protect that food, and protect those families, and protect those farmers. We have to be about the business of nation building. To acquire 1 acre, 10 acres, 10 million, or 10 billion acres. It's not something to just shake a stick at. It's going to require work. And that's one of the things that I don't believe we've grasped yet, because once this land is acquired, or once we acquire so many acres, it has to be worked. It has to be cultivated. It has to be harvested. Well, we're not in no harvesting mode, not for an entire people. So when you talk about food security, if you look at the methods that America has taken in reference to food security, they're securing food from all the way around the world. So they're making sure that that food that comes from Indonesia, or that food that comes from Pakistan, or that food that comes from the islands, or that food that comes from Hawaii, is secured. And it's not secured by, somebody that's just walking around with their hands folded. It is secured by a security force. So as a chef, I remain in that lane of being able to understand and transfer the sciences of the food that's being secured, and how it's going to be prepared. Being on the end of distribution, I said I was going to leave that to somebody else. The transporting of food, I was going to leave that to somebody else. Regardless, once this chef coat come off, I am Fruit of Islam. That is the security force for the Nation of Islam. And I thank the person, or those persons that asked me those questions about the food security of the Nation of Islam. That is a growing question. And I said I want to pose that to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, because that's not going to come from where I'm sitting. That's going to come from somewhere else. But as all soldiers in the Nation of Islam, we hear and obey, and we carry out all orders. And man, and we meet and overcome all obstacles. So thank you for that question. And I don't want to go before my leader and my teacher, but I also want to be prepared, and I also want to stay in my lane, my little lane of dealing with food preparation and food manufacturing and production. So thank you for that question, and I hope I, at least touched on that question,
Yes, sir.
Touched on an answer for that question. So thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
brother. I really appreciate it. It gives me goosebumps. So yes, sir.
Well, we wanna just thank Chef Eriel Muhammad, the nation chef, the people's chef, for coming on tonight and spending time with us to educate us on the science of food and preparation, as well as the new biodegradable food containers that is going out through various cities. And yeah, we are just so extremely excited and thankful that he took out the time to join us tonight. Once again, you are live with the Nation Chef on Muhammad on the Move.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Chef Eriel.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you tell the people about the first 15?
Oh, Chef Eriel, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm gonna let you
Chef Eriel. Yes, Chef Eriel has blessed us. Thank you for reminding us. The first 15 people tonight to email us will receive a free pie container, biodegradable pie container, courtesy of Chef Eriel Muhammad. You can email us at openeyesentertainmentgroup@gmail.com, and we will make sure to get those out to you. Once again, Chef Eriel, wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that as well. And Chef Eriel, before we go ahead and close out, once again, we want to thank you. We want to thank your staff for taking out the time to take part in this very historic interview with the nation's top chef, Chef Eriel Muhammad.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. All right, and we want to say once again, you all stay tuned. Watch us. Follow Chef Eriel, the nation's chef, on Facebook, as well as Eriel's Fresh Bake. Excuse me. You can follow him there as well. He has a new website coming out where you will get all of the information pertaining to all of the products that Chef Eriel will be bringing forth. So once again, I am Sultan Ray AlkhaliqShabazz, host of Muhammad on the Move TV1, along with my host, our co-host, Brother Troy Tawfeek Muhammad, joining us by way of Phoenix, Arizona. Once again, Muhammad is on the move.